How's everybody doing? For this homework assignment, we had to come up with a time that there was a strike and the outcomes and all that. And the first one that came to my mind was back from March the 12th to July 25th of 2011. And it was a 136-day strike and lockout. It was the longest work stoppage in NFL history. And this happened, and I remember it happening back in 2011, where they said that there might not be an NFL season, and a lot of it was over the collective bargaining agreement. And it started on March 12th when the NFL Players Association voted to go on strike, and then the NFL owners countered by staging a lockout of the players. Couple of the major issues were salary cap, the safety and health benefits, revenue sharing, rookie salaries, and the season length. When they initially did the lockout, that prohibited the players from working out in any of the team's facilities, seeing the team doctors, talking to the coaches. And they also had no free agency where players were able to sign with other teams. And there was no training camp, so there was no getting ready for the season to start when all this was going on. And from CNN, I went on CNN.com and got a timeline of what happened. And it said in February, the Owners and Players Association entered into a federal mediation from an independent government agency to hear both sides of the complaints. And by March 11th, the negotiations had broke down to a point where the players' union just got up and walked out of the mediation. That led the players to decertify the union and file a class action antitrust lawsuit against the NFL. And 10 players sued on behalf of the Players Association, and it was called Brady versus the NFL. It was Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning were 3 of the 10. There was also a guy coming out of college that was entering the NFL draft this season by the name of Von Miller, who was on it. And I really hate that guy, but he was on there. And they all filed a suit on behalf of the players. On March 12th, the lockout began at midnight, and a U.S. District Judge in St. Paul, Minnesota, Susan Richard Nelson, ruled in favor of the players and ordered the owners to end the lockout on March 12th. But the NFL countered that, and it went back into effect 2 days later after the league's temporary stay of ruling is granted by the 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. Then on July 21st, NFL owners vote 31-0 to ratify the proposed new collective bargaining agreement. So it took them a couple months to come up with what they were going to decide on. And the only team that didn't vote was Oakland and Al Davis, because he just don't like the NFL. He's a crazy guy. July 25th, the players, this was 4 days later, unanimously vote to ratify the CBA, effectively ending the lockout and the strike. On ESPN.com, I read an article by John Clayton that said the 5 major parts, according to him, that the collective bargaining agreement affected was free agency, salary cap, rookie compensation, minimum salaries, and franchise tags. The players won an additional $1 billion in benefits for retired players. They also get health insurance if they want it for their life after they've played in the NFL. There was increased roster size, leading to more players being able to have jobs in the NFL. They also have limited time in contact for players, which means they don't have to hit and wear their pads and hit against each other in all throughout training camp, spring they cut a lot of that stuff down. They cut down the time that they're allowed to be on the field out there working. The owners, what the biggest thing they got was a rookie wage scale, which meant these kids coming out of college don't start making 5-year contracts for $70 million anymore. They have to earn it and work their way up. They also got no judicial oversight in disputes between players and owners. That means that pretty much Roger Goodell is the judge, jury, and executioner, and they've had a lot of the players don't really like that, but they signed it, and they also signed a no opt-out clause for 10 years. So they're pretty much stuck with it no matter what. And at first it seemed like the players got what they wanted, but I feel like the owners got one over on them, you know, with the way when it talked about them having free agency, the teams pretty much control the players where they're going to go. If the player don't want to re-sign, they've put in these franchise tags where they can keep them up to 2 or 3 years by just giving them loaded contracts that don't count against the salary cap. So even if a player plays a couple years, he's still stuck there or whatnot. I just feel like the owners got the upper hand, especially with the whole Roger Goodell thing. He loves his power, I'll say that, and of course with not being able to opt out for 10 whole years, I mean that's crazy. The whole landscape of financial side of it could change, especially in that long of a period of time. And as far as their revenue sharing and all that goes, but I guess they're stuck with it. I've seen on the CNN where they said it was a horrible agreement, and the guy that was the head of the players union did a horrible job negotiating it. So, but I guess when it got up to like a month before the season started, so they had to do something. I guess everybody freaked out because, you know, Peyton Manning and Drew Brees and Tom Brady, they know they ain't gonna be playing for 10 more years. A missed season is a missed opportunity, and those guys are competitors, so they signed into something. Now they're stuck with it for 10 years. So I just feel like the owners got the better hand of that deal.